Shannon, have you heard from Al?
I have not. We're going to check our emails right now.
Okay.
No, we haven't.
I'll text him.
There he is.
Good. Ah, there he is.
He thinks he's in Mexico.
Yeah, Al, unmute yourself and see if we've got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can. Good. Thank you.
That little arrow that
Good thing you have help there.
choose virtual background and say none. Oh.
I think we're good.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Danny.
We're ready to start.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the June 16th, 2020 Post Falls City Council meeting. We started the evening with a budget workshop and are now moving into our regular session. We will not have the Pledge of Allegiance tonight because we have no flag. Shannon, please note that all council members are present. And under ceremonies, announcements, appointments, and presentations, I have not been handed any. Shannon, Rhiannon, have you seen anything?
We don't have any.
Okay, thank you. Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, are there any declarations of conflict, ex parte, contacts, and site visits? Linda.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have several. I will recuse myself on the consent calendar, item number K, Elm Road zone change, reasoned decision to avoid a possible appearance of a conflict. I will also recuse myself under ordinances, Elm Road zone change, for the same reason I'm related to that owner. And I will also recuse myself under action items contract with BCR Land Services for Post Falls Landing cleanup, again, to avoid an appearance of a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Linda, which one was that last one?
The number D under the action items contract with BCR Land Services for Post Falls Landing cleanup.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other declarations? Seeing none, Shelley, would you please present the consent calendar?
Item A is minutes from the June 2nd, 2020 City Council meeting. Item B is payables, May 26th through June 8th, 2020. Item C is annexation agreement, master development agreement, grant of right-of-way and grant of easement for Corbin Meadows annexation. Item D is the street department purchase of a new mini excavator and a used roller. Item E is frontage improvement waiver request for 210 East 13th Avenue. Item F is 2020 asphalt and chip seal bid award. Item G is sewer easement acceptance from Belcelio 2 Apartments. Item H is release of interest in easement of tract I, Montrose 7th edition. And item I is contract with Earthscape Landworks Incorporated for landscape and irrigation for Hildy Park parking lot. Item J is annexation agreement, grant of right-of-way and grant of easement for Hingston annexation. Item K is Elm Road zone change, reasoned decision. Item L is Camelin Park concessions agreement with Davis Enterprises. And item M is Green Meadows subdivision, reasoned decision.
Thank you. Council, any questions on the consent calendar?
I did have a question.
Go
I
ahead.
had a question on the Camelin Park concession agreement. The agreement speaks to the ability for this concessionaire to have music, but there wasn't any details as far as whether they're going to charge for the music or how's that going to work.
Brian?
My understanding is they may not be charging for admission to the music. The expectation would be if you're sitting within their reserved area that you're purchasing food and bev from their location.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Not entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Shannon, would you please take the roll?
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Terry, you're muted. Would you please unmute?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda tonight is public hearings. Tonight we have one, which is the vintage annexation. With that, I will open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor Jacobson, Council President Wilhelm, and members of City Council. John Manley here, Planning Manager with the city, presenting the staff report for the vintage annexation, file number ANX 1/2020. So the City Council is being asked to approve the annexation of approximately 10 acres with the zoning designation of single family residential R1. On May 12th, the Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded a recommendation for the zoning district before you. Project location is, as you see here, it's a little bit of northeast corner of Greens Ferry and Pole Line. It's in the red hatched area. It is a bit east of Greens Ferry, south of Bogey, just north of the subdivision Vineyards. Currently, it's a large residential home within Kootenai County. There's no known significant topography or vegetation matters on site. The Planning and Zoning Commission, when they forwarded their recommendation of R1, they looked at 6 review criteria. First 3 are kind of clustered together because they're thematically very similar. Looking at the future land use policies, goals and policies in the comp plan, looking at the road classifications, traffic patterns, existing development, future land uses, community plans, and any geographic or natural features. Kind of just stated about the geographic or natural features. There is no known community plans on this. What you're looking at mostly is the policies in the comp plan, and then looking at zoning. So looking at zoning, everything adjacent to this proposed site within the city is zoned R1, as you see here in the yellow. The future land use map that you see here is all designated as residential. So the proposed R1 would be consistent with this map at this time. We do have a approved comp plan that will go before you July 7th for resolution. On that future land use map, this area is also designated as low density residential, so it'd be consistent with the upcoming future land use map as well. Looking at the traffic patterns within this, you can see in the staff report that there was no known encumbrance of this proposed development on the transportation master plan or traffic within that area. Looking at the other criteria that the P&Z looked at, commercial and high density, they're not asking for that. So number 4 really wasn't applicable. Limited or neighborhood commercial and lower density residential is typically assigned as they proceed further away from the urban areas. And that was the case in this, is you're not along Highway 41, Prairie Avenue, or a road commercial corridor. And then the 6th one is dealing with industrial zoning. So that wasn't applicable either. Looking at the annexation policies, don't want to go over every single one of them, but a lot of them kind of cover the same material as what you'd find in the zoning approval criteria. These 4 here I kind of wanted to bring up as they're the most pertinent to this case in hand. Looking at the timing of the annexation, this would be considered orderly development as it's adjacent to city limits. The other one here, the 5th criteria, is we prioritize infill pockets. So I was going to bring up the GIS here so you can see on the consent agenda, you had a Hingston property, which is right here. That one there was on the consent. So this will be annexed in shortly. We recently, what you see in blue, that's the actually developing subdivision that hasn't platted. That's the Green Meadows. We also have another phase of Green Meadows that was annexed here in the light color. Item C on the consent, that was about this location. That was Corbin Meadows. So with Hingston, you can close it up, and then now we're getting these other projects that are closing in and taking in these areas, which would be considered classic infill areas. Looking at the The 11th policy there, looking at annexation should provide means to assure logical extension of the park system that has usable open space that benefits the overall community, as well as being connected to adjoining neighborhoods through an interconnected pedestrian transportation network. So I'll pull up Exhibit S4 that was in the staff report. What you see here is this is in the comprehensive plan. The green areas are areas of need for parks as we get annexations to enhance that level of service that you see here in the lighter green. That would be what our service area could be if we annexed in down the road. What you see here at this site highlighted is this is one of the areas that meets, it's within our level of service areas. Green are the park areas that are established. And so impact fees that we collect as part of the building permits go to establishing new parks for meeting parks needs. Being interconnected with neighborhoods, you would see on this site, once developed, I'll try to go to a better map here on. So you'd end up getting the frontage improvements on Bogey, which would help get that interconnected neighborhood aspect of that same criteria. Agencies that were routed, as you see here, the only comment received was Kootenai County Fire. They remain neutral. The applicant on this proposal was Chubb's LLC. Lake City Engineering was the applicant's representative, and Drew Dittman, I believe, is here to present on Chubb's behalf. At this time, I would stand for any questions you have for staff reporting on this application at this time, if you have any.
Questions for John? There we go. Okay, seeing none. Thanks, John. Applicant does wish to speak, is that correct?
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member Drew Dittman with Lake City Engineering. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Here we go, start my video. Here tonight representing Chubb's LLC in the annexation of about 10 acres of property there. As John had said, it's on Bogey Avenue, just east of Greens Ferry, north, a little bit north of Pole Line. As John had described, it's in that infill area that's kind of bound by Prairie Avenue and Tullamore, and then you got Fieldstone to the west and Pole Line to the south. So that area is slowly but surely filling in with residential, which obviously is in conformance with your comp plan and all of your master plans. So I think this is a bit of a straightforward annexation. So I'm going to go for a little bit of the assumptive close. It is surrounded by residential property. It's consistent with the zoning criteria as John had described earlier. We did get a unanimous vote from the Planning and Zoning Commission with an R1 designation. We are consistent again with the comp plan, with the future land use map, with your sewer master plan, transportation master plan. All of those had considered this property to be residential. So this is a good fit. It's an infill in the county pocket there, and again, I think it's a straightforward proposal. So I will stand for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Dittman? Thank you, sir. Seeing none, Shannon, is anyone wishing to testify?
We have none.
I would assume that Mr. Dittman is not going to rebut.
No, sir.
So with that, I will close the public hearing. Council, how would you like to act?
Well, it looks perfectly logical to me and a good infill project. And if no one else has a comment, I'm ready to make a motion.
Seeing none, go ahead, Linda.
I would move to approve vintage annexation file number ANNX-0001-2020.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, returning ordinances and resolutions. And tonight we have several. So the first action item would be the Corbin Meadows annexation.
I would move to place the ordinance Corbin Meadows annexation on its first and only reading while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, annexing property consisting of approximately 20 acres lying in the west half of Section 25, Township 51, Range 5 West, Boise Meridian, Kootenai County, Idaho, and zoning the annexed property single-family residential R1, providing for amendment of the official zoning map and providing for an effective date hereof.
Move to approve the ordinance Corbin Meadows annexation, to ask the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Shannon, please take the roll.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next ordinance, the Elm Road, and Council President Wilhelm is not participating in that. Does anyone have the verbiage, or you got it, Carrie?
I got
Great.
it.
Please.
I move to place the ordinance Elm Road zone change on its first and only reading while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
Ordinance of the City of Post Falls, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for change in zoning classification for the land described in Section 1 of this ordinance from single-family residential R1 to medium density multifamily residential R2, providing for amendment of the official zoning map to reflect this change, providing that all prior zones applicable to lands described in Section 1 are hereby superseded, and providing an effective date.
I move to approve the ordinance Elm Road zone change and ask the clerk to assign appropriate title number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. Next up is the Hingston annexation ordinance.
I'd move to place the ordinance Hingston annexation on its first and only reading while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion seconds. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, annexing property consisting of approximately 20.682 acres located in the east half of the northwest quarter of Section 27, Township 51 North, Range 5 West, Boise Meridian, Kootenai County, Idaho, and zoning the annexed property single-family residential R1, providing for an amendment of the official zoning map and providing for an effective date hereof.
Move to approve the Hingston annexation. Move to approve the ordinance Hingston annexation. Ask the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item up is contract with BCR Land Services for Post Falls Landing cleanup.
I'd move to contract with BCR Land Services for Post Falls Landing cleanup.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item up would be the water reclamation facility upgrade. Mr. Wilson, on the last one and this one, do we need any further discussion, or are these just for the vote at this point?
I think if you have questions, you're free to ask them.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overlook any questions that may pertain to the last item, but if anyone has any questions on this, let me know. If not, I'd entertain a motion. You're good.
I'd move to approve the water reclamation facility upgrade recommended award.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Thank you. Just so you know, that's probably the largest contract I'll ever sign in my life, so. Next item up is water reclamation facility upgrade.
I'd move to approve the water reclamation facility upgrade special inspections contract with All West Testing and Engineering.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Wilhelm,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Passes, thank you. Now we're to new business, and tonight we do have one. It's the community garden easements.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Robbie Quinn. Hang on. Let me switch my screen. Robbie Quinn, Parks Planner, here to present for action of the approval of the drafting of a couple easements, as well as to approve for us to proceed with our concept as presented this evening. And so just a little background real quick. The community garden site is approximately 2 acres located just north of Black Bay Park and south of the Centennial Trail. Currently, the site has a small rec building, a few garden plots, one ADA pad, and an asphalt path running through the middle. Other than that, it's primarily native pines and native grassland. And so last year, the Park and Recreation Commission approved the master plan by Bernardo Wills Architects, which essentially increased our garden plots. They proposed adding a trail system with demonstration gardens and adding a couple parking lots. And so the parking is kind of what I'm focusing on this evening. And so as you can see, they designed it as 2 separate parking lots. And so once we started kind of getting into this and moving it further along for construction documents, we kind of wanted to take a look at that and how we can make it a little more efficient. And so this is kind of a revised concept that staff has come up with. And as you can see, it consolidates the parking into 1 parking lot for a couple reasons. One, it allows for better flow and functionality of the parking lot. And 2, it creates a loop access through the site and back out. And so it prevents, for emergency access, prevents them from having to back in and out, and they can now flow through the site. And so when currently we're under contract with JUB Engineers, and when they conducted a site boundary survey, there's a couple issues that came up with our proposed plan. Number one, there are no current easements on record for the city or the adjacent property owner. And so as you can see with this boundary map, the red is the city property and blue is Meadowwood Glen property. And the first half of their driveway is completely on city property. And so, like I mentioned, there's no current easement. So it's staff's recommendation to draft a couple of easements. The first one would be from the city to Meadowwood Glen as an access easement. And again, that's for their access to their back parking lot. And the second one, because of our proposed concept with the parking, would be for Meadowwood Glen to the city. And that would be also for an access easement through this loop, use easement, which would be parking and this drive approach here, a drainage easement, because some of this parking would have to drain onto their property, and a utility easement, as there is currently a water line that runs through here. And so just to look at this a little more clearly, again, we're looking for your recommendation to proceed with the drafting of these two easements. And this would come back to council. Once they've drafted, we'd work with JUB and come back to you for adoption. And secondly, we're looking for your approval to proceed with design as is here. And knowing that some of this development will have to be on an adjacent property. And so we've had ongoing discussions with the property owner, Meadowwood Glen, and they are 100% on board with this. They're actually pretty excited about it to kind of clean up this area. It helps access for them with emergency, as well as keep people from driving back and forth between the two properties, muddying up the lawn area there. And so with that, I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Quinn?
Robbie, did we lose any parking spots by going to the new design?
No, well, we may have lost one.
It looked like one in the count.
Yeah, just one. But again, we could get that back, but the way I kind of laid it out was to prevent a couple large trees from coming out. So we're still within a range that our recreation department is comfortable with parking.
Mr. Malloy?
Has there been any discussion about buying that sliver of property where the parking stalls would land? I think it's a cleaner option than having city improvements on private property, but obviously an easement's a cheaper way to go. I'm not sure what the risks are exactly there, but has there been any discussion about that?
Currently, there has not been. Again, that would be a more expensive option, but no, we have not looked at that.
Is it?
You okay, Joe?
Yeah, I said as long as the private property owners are actually excited about the prospect, it's probably pretty low risk to put in some parking spots there. It's not super high cost or anything else. It's just kind of a cleaner deal if we own the property we're putting the improvements on. But I'm good. I was just curious.
Okay. Lynn, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, I think he said that through that area is where the water line runs as well. So we still need an easement.
Yeah, when JD was looking at that, they were pretty surprised that we hadn't had one because of that, but they didn't find anything.
I think it looks great. And I think that the people who live there, oh my gosh, you're improving their yard basically. So yeah, I'm not surprised they're happy about it.
Any other comments? We would need a motion to authorize moving forward. Is that correct, Mr. Wilson? Thank you.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Shannon, please take the roll.
Malloy,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Wilhelm.
aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Next item up is administrative staff reports. Do we have any tonight, Shelley?
We have none tonight, sir.
Thank you. Citizens issues. Shannon, has anyone submitted a letter to be read in?
We have none.
Thank you very much. Mayor and council comments. I really don't have any other than, we're hoping that next meeting would be in person. Things continue to go the way they are. We can, maybe Zoom will be something we see in the rearview mirror, but I think it'll be around for a while. Council comments. Lynn.
I'd just like to say thanks to Jason and Shelley and the staff for their work on the budget. the summaries that we see tonight are can be confusing as compared to the 328 page or whatever it is line item budget, but and there's a lot of funds to be transferred depending on what happens in the action of the council and the staff. So it's a lengthy process, but I think it's a good process, and I think we have some good checks and balances. So
Good.
thanks to everybody.
Appreciate you
Thank
and
you,
Al
Lynn.
taking the time to meet with staff on that and represent the council. Al, do you have a comment?
I'd just like to echo what Lynn said. We kind of put Jason through this. We asked a lot of questions and he had a lot of the answers. I do have a question too. I don't know if Dave's still on, but where are we on Black Bay Depot? Is it open, close? Do we know?
I'm still on. It's not open yet simply because we're just starting to get back into programming. We will be programming in about a month and a half with it. We were hoping to dedicate it this spring, but some little virus came in. I've talked to Shelley because you're asking about when the update will be, and we were looking at this next month of July, giving you a staff report of where we're at on it and a slideshow since we're not able to do our dedication yet.
Will that slideshow also have a breakdown of how much we spent? I saw another check for almost 40 grand in this last go round. So I'd just like to see a breakdown.
I think they heard you and we'll bring that information back. Any other comments? Shelley, we do not need an executive session tonight, is that correct?
We don't. We just need Al to come back because we're going to grill Jason some more later. But other than that, it's good.
The next meeting, next motion is?
Adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thank
Yeah, thank you.